What if the reason she feels close to you isn't because of what you say, but because of what you don't say? Think about that for a moment. Before we begin, if you want content that can genuinely change your love life, help you understand female psychology, and give you calm, stoic confidence that most men never develop, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and most importantly, watch it until the end. What you'll learn today can completely shift the way women experience you. Now let me tell you a short story. There was a man who believed intimacy was something you asked for directly. He thought honesty meant laying everything on the table. So every time he felt desire, he explained it. He justified it. He tried to be logical, and every time something strange happened, the woman didn't pull closer. She pulled away. Then there was another man. He rarely spoke about desire. He didn't beg for closeness. He didn't push. Yet women leaned toward him. They felt intimacy before it ever happened. The difference wasn't looks. It wasn't money. It wasn't manipulation. It was psychology, guided by Stoicism. Here's the uncomfortable truth most men never hear. Intimacy is not created by asking for it. It is created by making a woman feel safe, chosen, and emotionally seen before words ever appear. Stoicism teaches us one core principle: control what is within you and let go of what is not. When you apply this to intimacy, everything changes. Because the moment you need intimacy, you lose it. But the moment you are grounded, calm, and unattached, intimacy begins to seek you. Let's break this down slowly. Most men approach intimacy from hunger. Even if they hide it, women sense it instantly. Hunger creates pressure. Pressure creates resistance. Resistance kills attraction. A stoic man does the opposite. He approaches intimacy from abundance. He doesn't chase closeness. He allows closeness to unfold. Here's the psychological trick most people misunderstand. You never ask a woman for intimacy with words. You ask with presence. Imagine sitting across from a woman. You're calm. Your breathing is slow. Your attention is undivided. You're not trying to impress. You're not trying to convince. You're simply there, fully, comfortably, without rush. That state alone already communicates something powerful. I am complete with or without this moment. And paradoxically, that's what makes a woman want to step closer. Stoicism is not about emotional coldness. It's about emotional mastery. When you master your impulses, you become predictable. In a good way, stable, grounded. Women don't open up to chaos. They open up to certainty. Now here's where storytelling becomes reality. A woman once described the moment she decided to become intimate with a man. She said it wasn't when he touched her. It wasn't when he flirted. It was when he paused, when he didn't rush, when he looked at her as if he had all the time in the world. That pause is everything. Most men rush intimacy because they're afraid of losing the moment. Stoic men understand something deeper. If the moment is real, it doesn't need to be chased. So how do you ask for intimacy without asking? You create a space where intimacy feels like the most natural next step. You do this first by regulating yourself. If your mind is loud, needy, impatient, she will feel it. Stoicism trains you to observe desire without being ruled by it. Desire becomes calm, focused, controlled. Then you communicate intention without demand. This is critical. Instead of saying, "Do you want to be close?" you say something like, "I enjoy being here with you." Notice the difference. One asks for permission from insecurity. The other states presence from confidence. Women respond to certainty, not requests driven by fear. Another Stoic principle applies here. Speak less, mean more. When a man over-explains his desire, it loses power. Mystery isn't manipulation. It's restraint. There is also a timing element. Intimacy happens when emotions have peaked and then settled. If you try to escalate at the peak, it feels rushed. If you allow a moment of calm after laughter, after connection, after shared silence, intimacy feels earned. Silence is one of the most underestimated psychological tools. Silence gives her space to feel, and feelings create intimacy far more than words ever could. Now let's talk about boundaries, because this is where Stoicism truly shines. A man who has no boundaries feels unsafe. A man who can say no calmly feels powerful. When you don't cling, when you don't push, when you're okay walking away without resentment, you signal emotional strength. And here's the paradox. The less you force intimacy, the more she feels free to choose it. Choice is everything. When a woman chooses intimacy, it becomes deep, meaningful, and lasting. When she feels cornered into it, even subtly, it creates regret or distance. Stoicism teaches acceptance. If the moment isn't right, you don't collapse. You don't argue. You don't withdraw emotionally. You remain steady. That steadiness is rare, and rarity creates value. A Stoic gaze is not intense. It's relaxed. It doesn't search for approval. It simply observes. When you hold eye contact without expectation, it creates tension, not nervous tension, attraction tension. That tension is the real invitation to intimacy. Another key point most men miss. Intimacy begins long before physical closeness. It begins when a woman feels understood without being analyzed, when she feels heard without being fixed. Don't rush to solutions. Don't rush to touch. Let her talk. Let her pause. Let her be human. That emotional patience builds trust, and trust opens the door you're trying to knock down with words. Stoicism reminds us, the strongest influence is quiet consistency. When you're calm across multiple moments, her nervous system relaxes around you, and when a woman feels relaxed, intimacy feels safe. Now here's the psychological trick that ties everything together. Instead of asking, "Can we be intimate?" you ask yourself, "Am I creating an environment where intimacy feels inevitable?" That environment includes emotional safety, grounded energy, non-attachment to outcome, and respectful desire. When all of that is present, intimacy doesn't feel like a request. It feels like a shared decision. And when it happens, it feels natural, not forced. Many men fear rejection because they attach their self-worth to the outcome. Stoicism cuts that attachment. You understand that your value doesn't rise or fall based on her answer. Ironically, that detachment makes your presence more attractive. You stop performing. You stop proving. You start being. And being is what women respond to on a deep psychological level. So remember this. You don't seduce with words. You don't convince with logic. You don't ask from need. You invite with calm. You lead with presence. You attract with self-mastery. If you master this, intimacy becomes a natural extension of connection, not a question mark filled with anxiety. And that's the Stoic way. Intimacy is one of the most misunderstood aspects of human connection. Most people believe it begins with a question, a request, or a bold move. In reality, intimacy begins much earlier, long before words are spoken. From a Stoic and psychological perspective, intimacy is not something you demand or chase. It is something you allow to unfold when the conditions are right. Stoicism teaches self-mastery above all else. When applied to relationships, this philosophy changes how a man approaches closeness with a woman. Instead of acting from impulse, fear of loss, or desire for validation, the Stoic man acts from calm awareness. He understands that the more controlled his inner world is, the more attractive his outer presence becomes. Many men make the same mistake. They confuse honesty with emotional pressure. They believe that expressing desire directly will bring them closer. But psychology shows us something different. Desire that is rushed creates discomfort. Desire that is calm creates safety, and safety is the foundation of intimacy. A woman does not move toward intimacy because she was asked. She moves toward intimacy because she feels emotionally understood and energetically relaxed. This is where Stoicism plays a powerful role. When a man is not ruled by his urges, he becomes predictable in the best possible way. His emotions are stable. His reactions are measured. His presence feels safe. Safety does not mean boredom. It means trust, and trust allows desire to grow without fear. One of the core Stoic principles is detachment from outcomes. In relationships, this principle is transformative. When a man is attached to a specific result, such as intimacy, his behavior subtly changes. His tone becomes expectant. His body language becomes tense. Even if he says the right words, his energy communicates need. Women sense this instantly. Detachment does not mean lack of interest. It means interest without desperation. A Stoic man can desire intimacy deeply while remaining emotionally composed. This balance is rare, and rarity creates attraction. Psychologically, intimacy grows when a woman feels she has a choice. Choice gives her control, and control reduces anxiety. When a man pressures, persuades, or rushes, he removes that sense of choice. When he remains calm and patient, he restores it. Patience is not passive. It is confident restraint. Another misunderstood element is silence. Many men talk too much when they feel attraction. They explain their feelings. They seek reassurance. They fill quiet moments out of nervousness. Stoicism values silence because silence creates space, and space allows emotions to surface naturally. Silence after laughter. Silence after deep conversation. Silence during eye contact. These moments are not empty. They are charged. They allow tension to build in a healthy way. This tension is what often leads to intimacy, without a single question being asked. Eye contact plays a key role here. A Stoic gaze is steady but relaxed. It does not demand. It does not avoid. It simply observes. This kind of eye contact communicates confidence and presence. It says, "I am here and I am comfortable." That comfort invites closeness. Another important Stoic lesson is acceptance. Not every moment will lead to intimacy. Not every connection is meant to deepen physically. A man who understands this does not take rejection personally. He does not become cold or resentful. He remains respectful and grounded. This reaction or lack of reaction is powerful. When a woman sees that a man's self-worth does not depend on her response, she feels less pressure and more curiosity. Emotional independence is attractive because it signals strength. Stoicism also teaches consistency. Attraction is rarely built in a single moment. It grows through repeated experiences of calm, respect, and emotional steadiness. When a woman experiences the same grounded presence over time, her nervous system relaxes around that man. Relaxation opens the door to vulnerability, and vulnerability leads to intimacy. Intimacy is not only physical. Emotional intimacy always comes first. Feeling heard without being judged, feeling seen without being analyzed, feeling accepted without conditions. A Stoic man listens more than he speaks. He does not rush to fix or advise. He allows her emotions to exist without trying to control them. This emotional patience builds deep trust. Trust makes physical closeness feel natural rather than forced. The psychological trick is simple but difficult to master. Instead of focusing on how to ask for intimacy, focus on who you are being in her presence. Are you calm or anxious? Are you present or distracted? Are you grounded or seeking approval? When your inner state is stable, your outer actions align naturally. You do not need lines or tactics. Your presence becomes the invitation. Stoicism reminds us that the strongest influence is internal. You cannot control another person's feelings, but you can control your own reactions, expectations, and behavior. When you do this well, intimacy becomes a shared experience rather than a negotiation. True intimacy happens when both people feel safe, free, and chosen. It cannot be forced. It cannot be rushed. It must be allowed.